something we need to improve on.
So
So
what you should do is pick out a destination that's quite a few miles away and walk enough miles to get there. See how long it takes you.
And make sure it's not an ice cream shop.
Well, I'm talking further than that, like maybe visiting your
Oh,
daughter.
gotta walk beyond?
Oh, visiting my daughter?
Yeah,
She lives in Missouri.
walk to Missouri. Okay. I mean, we're talking big goals. here.
Yeah.
Today we're going to do part 2. We've had some questions
We have.
and we want to answer them.
So, I believe we've had two basic sets of questions. Number one was, why eating every 3 hours, or how are you eating every 3 hours? And number two is, what are you eating during the day? So we're going to cover those two things. So which one? I think we should probably cover the every 3 hours first. Before I do that, if you look back at all the things that we've taught and go back and look at our 180 videos that we had, you'll see over and over and over again where we talk about eating 3 meals a day plus 2 snacks and maybe a snack in the evening. That's 6 meals, and I'm not diabetic. That keeps a person good. So we have breakfast, a 10 o'clock snack, lunch, a 2 or 3 o'clock snack, and dinner. And that's a normal person. Okay.
Okay.
Not to imply that you're not normal, Ben.
I was gonna ask about that. No.
She did say it.
Yeah, the size of the meals makes a big difference. You're not really eating to fill a plate, not really eating to eat a whole meal. You eat a partial meal, and then a snack, and then another partial meal, and a snack, and then your dinner. I've found that I don't feel like I need to eat like I used to. I used to want to fill up the plate, go back for seconds, and
Believe me.
do that. You know, we only had 3 meals. I did that 3 times a day.
In a couple of seconds, probably.
Yeah.
So he doesn't feel like he has to hoard food in his tummy because he knows he's so many hours later he's going to get another good food, right?
Right.
And when we were first doing this, he used to say, "What time did I eat? When do I get more food?" You know, because he wanted to make sure he was going to get that snack in there. And so basically, instead of it's not causing the blood sugar to spike each time. We're eating foods to keep it even, and so the snacks keep it from falling and keep it from going up too much. So we're trying to sustain it.
If you don't eat, it spikes it. If you do eat, it spikes it
And
the wrong way.
Yeah, and part of the idea of watching the portion is that it's the amount that your body can easily process within that period of time. You're
Right.
not storing any, it's not sitting there and your body using it the rest of the day, and it's not so much your body has to scramble and try to deal with it real fast and just spike everything. It's a portion based on what you need. And obviously if I know this has been my experience, if I'm doing a lot of manual labor, I have to eat meal. And
Well,
You're
you
burning up.
eat to your activity level.
You're right.
In
for
fact,
sure.
what you're supposed to do is
and
eat
not
just
in
under
arrears.
your
You should
activity
eat.
level.
You should eat before, because as a trainer, that's one thing that I tell people who are going to be exercising: prepare beforehand. Get the nutrition on
Right.
board,
Just
the
like a
energy
drink
on
before you
board
go walk.
before you need it.
And we did have a question about whether he's exercising or not, so we'll address that after we address.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
didn't want to forget that
Yep.
part.
Okay.
So, what are you eating? And she is the slave driver behind the machine here.
I did fix a few meals. I would plan our main meals, meaning breakfast, lunch, and dinner, around a lean protein. It could be eggs, it could be chicken breast, it could, anything that's a lean protein, and you can kind of see what that is. We'd have a small normal portion of that. We'd have a low carb vegetable, and because he didn't handle the high carb vegetables very well. We would use that. We'd use some, but we had to be careful because we were testing everything. If it went up, then we would cut the portion size or something. So help me think of something. We had, like, if maybe we would have spaghetti squash or a sweet potato for
Let's talk about breakfast.
breakfast. All right. Well,
Start with breakfast.
Well, we have some favorites for breakfast.
I have one big favorite for breakfast. I saute onions and then I put eggs on top of it.
Oh.
And I
It's my favorite.
try and incorporate vegetables. A lot of time I'll put, just take a whole good couple handfuls of fresh spinach, you know, with a little bit of olive oil or butter in the thing, and just put a little bit of spinach there, let it wilt, and then crack the eggs on it and eat them. We try to incorporate the fresh vegetables, but sometimes just the barely cooked vegetables feel more
Yeah.
like breakfast.
Well, let's go a little deeper into the specifics. We saute it in what?
Either butter
Real butter.
or olive oil, and I've also used coconut oil. But
Okay. That's
those
good.
are our 3 fats that we feel comfortable using, that we've gotten used to. And so we totally don't use soy, we don't use canola, we don't use vegetable, and we watch the temperature to keep it really low.
So low temperature.
Low
yeah.
temperature, so that they're not losing nutrients, and they're not
And
burning
the
up
reason
oil.
for that,
We don't want to overcook the oil. We don't want the oil to turn
We
into
don't want to
trans
damage
fats,
it, right?
and we don't want the vegetables to be, you know, brown and weird. We want the nutrients.
yeah,
from
we
them.
keep some of those nutrients in it.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we're eating the vegetables.
And so one thing that fills him, I mean, we're having a lot of onions now because we harvested a lot from the season, and they're still available, but that's something right now that he'll do the onions and 2 or 3 eggs, and that's what fills him up and keeps him going, along with, you know, a few side things. You use some,
Just as a side thing, when we got here to their home, in the freezer they have baggies of sautéed frozen onions. So they're already cut up, they're already cooked, and they're in bags in the fridge, so you can just pull some out. It's really cool.
well, we had so many that we literally cut them up and filled a pan and just slowly whatever, and then we scooped them in baggies. And so we have fresh, and then we have those at the store when they run out.
That's
or
great.
when we're in a rush. We also have the same thing with our green chilies. We haven't used much.
Yes, I
Yes,
wish we had gotten
okay.
some green chilies while we were here. New
Okay.
Mexico, hatch green
Fine,
chilies.
we'll have green chilies tomorrow. Anyhow, we try and put a variety. A lot of times we will use a little bit of cottage cheese. We look at the labels and we pick the purest, best stuff we can. Or we use mozzarella, the really good whole milk mozzarella. And those will be used sparingly because any of your nuts or cheeses, they do have carbs and protein. And being aware of that, because we read labels, all I read is carb and fat and whatever. And I don't look at sugar because the carbs are going to turn into sugar.
And you
so-
want the fat. You're
I
wanting
want
it
the
to
fat.
have-
I want a fat carb ratio. So like when we look at walnuts, if it has like 18 grams of fat per serving and 6 carbs or 4 carbs or whatever it is, that's good. That's a good ratio for us. So
So Van, what's a typical snack?
Morning snack.
A morning snack?
it doesn't matter what time.
No, it doesn't matter. what
Peanut
kind.
butter
tell
and
them
Peanut butter and
celery.
celery. That's my favorite.
Yesterday I fixed some. We did the whole thing, and we just.
Tell us about this peanut butter. Because
Oh,
not
it's gotta
all
be
peanut
red
butters are
peanut
equal,
butter.
right?
No way.
He's even learned to mix it up.
It's got to be a natural peanut butter. And our peanut butter that we get, the ingredients read peanuts.
Okay?
There's nothing else.
Well, there's a tiny bit of sea salt in there,
Yeah.
but
Well,
it doesn't
that's
have
good.
to be. But
That's
so
good, though.
so he takes it and we clean a couple stalks of celery, spread it in there. Try not to get it too heaping, because we know 2 tablespoons is a serving, and we're aware of how many carbs and stuff. But if we can fill a couple stalks of celery and he eats it, it fills him up. So we've got the low carb vegetable in the celery. We have the fat. We have the carb in the peanut butter. So we don't have to totally add to that. What are we missing?
You have the protein.
The proteins in the peanut butter.
Yep.
So to us, even though it's just a couple items, it's a pretty good complete snack, and I can pack it in a lunch, and which I do, or he can, just have it.
And
at
then I
home.
sent you with a snack today.
Yes, my favorite. We did the same thing with apples.
So
And-
I just took an apple, cut it in two, took the center out, and put a big glob of peanut butter in, put the two together, and sent it with her to
And when
work.
I got to work, I just go twist. Eat this one, eat this one.
Yeah, the apple and peanut butter is a new one for
Yeah,
us.
we've
I
never
like
done it.
I
I
like
do
it. It's a
too.
good combination.
It's a great combination, and we've incorporated it with our grandkids. We had a 5-year-old grandson come over this week, and he's like, "Grandma, can I have apples and peanut butter?" And I was like, "Yes."
So
Got him trained.
So what we do, when we worked together, we would always have to have a snack, and so we would do apples and cheese, nuts and yogurt, plain whole yogurt, and we would add like a little bit of fruit in it,
Real fruit.
Real fruit.
Not the
Right.
and
jelly stuff.
nuts. So there's just a bunch of different snacks you can play with, but a granola bar does not count. You
Well,
do not want a granola bar.
That made me remember some of the other things that we've used for especially portable snacks. If you want to be able to reach in your pocket and get some. We've done the blueberries. It's not always good to reach in your pocket and get blueberry. But if you put blueberries and nuts together instead of peanut butter, where it's not so whatever. We even did that one time. We had almonds and whole berries that were fresh and good. Put them in a thing and eat those for a snack. Just keep them in a container. Or, you can do the mini carrots or chop up carrots. Carrots do have carbs, but
And
if you're
carrots
eating them
can-
raw, then they're not going to have a lot of carbs. And you put that with your cheese or something, then it's going to counteract the carbs in it.
Or tonight we had snow peas and snap bean peas, and those are both really good.
We ate them fresh, and I mixed up some cream cheese and a little bit of coconut milk and stuff, and put just seasonings like you would in a hot dish, but made, I guess, a fake ranch type stuff to dip them in, because we don't do that anymore.
So what about lunch?
What's good lunch? Name one of your favorites.
One of my favorites, that would be the green burrito.
Okay, explain that, but with all good healthy stuff.
What's
Yeah.
a green burrito?
Green burrito is, instead of a tortilla,
You take romaine lettuce.
you use
Oh,
romaine
yeah.
lettuce, and you
Okay.
put your ingredients in the middle and wrap it up in the.
Okay, so similar to what you had at the restaurant the other
absolutely.
night.
It's very much like that. So basically, you replace the tortilla with what you put in all your stuff. We've done that, and you wrapped it up and ate it as a lunch.
And what do you have as the filling?
Well,
At work, they put naughty stuff in it, so he'd bring it home, and I'd put the cooked chicken breast in it.
yeah.
And what was the filling like?
Great chilies.
Another green was the
Avocado, chicken, tomatoes,
Provolone cheese or
provolone
mozzarella
cheese. Yeah.
So you're not so much talking a Mexican dish.
No,
you're
they
just talking about it. You're talking about a sandwich, but your bread is your lettuce.
Yeah, picture
Right.
A
going.
lettuce wrap.
Picture instead of going to Subway and getting a big old thing, you're basically using
yeah.
your stuff and just putting what you like in it.
Right.
And what's nice, we've done this with, we called it haystacks, and there's a million version of haystacks, but the first time we did it, we had a lot of people over for dinner, and if you're cooking for grandkids or extra kids, they're not gonna all like the same thing. So we cooked the cauliflower and drained it, put it in the blender and so it riced it really fast. So we have a container of
Vut is a ninja.
So,
Gee,
or
but
my regular little food processor. But I always go ahead and season it a little bit with butter, so it tastes good. But we had a container of the cauliflower, and then we put everything that you would normally put on a taco. And they made haystacks. They put your base of your cauliflower, you add your lettuce, your shredded cheese or meat that you've got, your cheeses. And we stick to white cheeses because they're softer and better for you.
They don't have the dyes in them.
We had tomatoes. You could have some salsa or sour cream or whatever. Olives. We love olives because they're one of your healthy fats, and they go in a lot of things, and you don't feel deprived. So pickles, olives, but we didn't put pickles. But anyhow, so you build it, and you're sitting there eating it going, I don't feel deprived. This is good.
There was a restaurant that we would go to in Oregon, and there was only 2 of them in the whole city, and they were grass-fed beef. And you could tell them everything you wanted on your burger, or you could get it on a bun, or you could get it in a lettuce wrap. And we loved it when they brought it to us in the lettuce wrap because it was almost didn't seem like 10 things of iceberg lettuce that were wrapped around it. So it was so juicy from the crispness.
wet.
The ratio of lettuce to other foods was pretty strong ratio.
It was
That
good.
was a lot
It
of
was
lettuce.
delicious.
Like, have I had a lettuce?
So
Yeah.
just experiment with those kind of things.
Yeah, and what we found is by using the lettuce wrap or using the cauliflower or, you know, making the cloud bread stuff, you've got those substitutes for recipes that are some of your favorites, and you just think, oh, I bet I could do this, you know. And so a lot of it is not, sorry.
Well, I'm really having to relearn to cook here because I'm used to cooking with a carb. And so tonight we had quinoa, and I took the pan and moved it away from him.
And I let him have a little bit.
He got a tablespoon.
No, he had probably 2. And see, the problem with Van, and we're hoping he can work back into this, and I think we're getting there, because we want him to be able to have grains. But at the beginning, when his body's still doing so much adjusting and healing, it's still, if he eats it tonight, he may be fine tonight, but tomorrow it will have that spike that stays with you longer.
So let me just mention something here that I meant to mention the other night. Van is not trying for a ketogenic diet. He's not trying to have his body eat his muscles. And so we're aware that he's not on a lot of carbs, but he is on carbs. So
Everything he eats,
he's
there's
eating
carbs.
He's just not eating the heavy grains and the things like that that you absolutely know are going to spike you. And as he gets better and more healed, he'll be able to add more in. But just in case you're thinking, oh, he's not having carbs, he must be having the ketogenic diet, he is not.
Because everything we eat has the carbs in it. So you eat a combination of all these. You've got, you know, 15 or 20 carbs in a meal without saying, oh, I need a high carb food. So it's all in there. And because it's balanced with your low carb vegetables and your high proteins and healthy fats, then that's why it stays so even. And he feels full because he has the proteins and fats. And his body's got all the stuff it needs, right?
You know, we're talking about all this food we just ate, and I'm starting to get hungry again.
Well, that's the thing about spreading out the meals and making them smaller. I used to finish my 3 meals, and then right about this time,
Go crazy.
right about 7:30, 8 o'clock, it was snack time. And snack time was big. I mean, it was, if I ate ice cream, it was like a bowl of ice cream. It wasn't just a scoop of ice cream.
Yeah.
So now it's planned. And if you plan your snacks and you follow the 4 snack pack or the thing best you can, you have your carbs or low carbs or
Your
proteins,
fats.
your fats. If you plan that and you plan out your meals, and it's not like we have a menu we look at all the time. Julie's just memorized what are those things we need, and when we shop for those. And so, you know, sometimes we look up recipes and sometimes we just say, hey, let's have some of that and that and that, and
What have we
put
got?
it together.
So I want to make sure that you've watched the video that came out yesterday. I'm going to put a link up here to it to run it again because it explains how you're supposed to eat.
Now, afternoon snack, kind of repeat the morning snack. It's a variety of
Let's say-
options.
It's just,
There needs to be variety, so it's not the same.
It's not the same thing, but I'm saying it's the
Protein,
same
carb
types of
combo.
things. Yep.
of some kind.
And not huge, a little bit.
Right.
Okay.
And you know,
One of my favorite meals is soup.
which is rare.
I didn't
for
like
you.
soup before.
Now he does.
Now I love soup.
But let me ask you
What
this:
kind?
the soups that she's making now, as compared to the soups you used to have, is there a difference?
Well, I can't have soups like a chili.
Yeah, because it's all carb.
It's
Yeah,
all
and
carbs.
that's the one interesting thing. We have people saying, "Oh, well," we went to a restaurant the other day with friends, and they had pre-ordered pizzas and stuff. And she's like, "Well, I knew you couldn't eat everything, so maybe I should say this. So we did."
Vegetarian.
Hey, trust
Anyhow,
me, we're always
we're just
saying things,
learning.
and I know our friends are saying
Yeah.
they didn't like that.
Well, I'm just saying it was a misunderstanding. They
Not that
ordered
it
a
wasn't
pizza.
liked, it was just couldn't be eaten.
One half of the pizza had no cheese. It was just the bread and the vegetables on it. And I'm like, okay, but we needed the meat, or we needed that
We
protein.
needed that protein. Yeah.
So we missed the mark, if we hadn't had the crust, yes. But we scraped the vegetables off and put them in our salad. We ordered a salad that had lots of chicken and olives and good stuff in it. But it was funny, but I interrupted you. But what were you going to say about your...
The
Well, we were
soups.
talking about the soups. What's in the soup? You can put in a meat. vegetables, the good vegetables. We even throw in dice up a tomato and throw it in.
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, I know that we made chicken soup after the Thanksgiving, and it's the first time I had turkey soup after Thanksgiving. First time I didn't put any pasta in it, no potatoes, because I was very aware that he was going to be eating it.
But I think one of the things he likes is that we season like crazy with just herbs and stuff.
Which you should.
So we have a ton of herbs, and I've even learned, because we can rice cauliflower, well, can you rice that mixture that has cauliflower, broccoli, carrot, and yeah, you can, and suddenly you've got this wonderful little bit of soup.
Cover. We have one.
But before we go there, let's finish up on the soups a little bit. The point I was hoping for, and we really got it, is that these soups, the flavors are fantastic. The contents are amazing. Great foods in there, and they are filling. It's fun to eat because it's a change of pace, but you get this variety of foods and textures and flavors, and it's a meal.
And I think we started this with when we were in the Schwartzbein book, and they had the anytime chicken soup or whatever. We started learning to make soups that were with lean meats and lots of vegetables, so their carb level is really low. And he liked that he could eat a bowl or two and feel like, wow, I'm really filling up, but I'm not overdoing.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things he's learned. We don't do biscuits with him
why
anymore.
That's where I learned how to really like soup,
Yeah.
because it was my mainstay. It was what filled me.
Yeah.
So instead of biscuits, we do other things.
Well, and one of our subscribers has trouble with teeth and needing to be able to eat soft things. So soup is really good for that.
Not a chunky
And
soup.
ricing
obviously,
your vegetables.
Yeah, say we cook them gentle and then rice them, which means basically you're going to pulse it really quickly
So
in your blender.
she takes cauliflower or broccoli, pre-cooks it, and then pulsates it.
Yeah, it just and it's.
See, she does this
Now,
thing.
you
if
can
you
use
need
different
more.
sounds if you want, but the principle's
Get the
there.
right blender. So
Now, at Thanksgiving, when I was trying to feed a whole crowd,
She put it a lot.
I overcooked it and then I vooped it, and I had good. Well, it was even before that. I had mashed potatoes. I meant to make mashed potatoes.
So I'm going to cut this video and just show you this little video where she's making the rice, the rice cauliflower. So she is making cauliflower potatoes, mashed potatoes, without the potatoes. Garlic, salt, butter.
Oh, and this one
And cream cheese?
That's what makes it have more of a potato-y consistency. See how it's
The flavor was great. I thought it was
It
great.
was really
And I have a granddaughter that has come over to eat a few times, and I found out from someone else that she took thirds that night on the. Can I have more rice? Can I have more rice? This is really good rice.
Oh, and she thought it was
She
rice.
thought it was rice. I was like, good job. It didn't blow your car, you know. Anyhow, so
Okay, so the last thing
that
that
was
we
good tasting rice.
We haven't had supper.
well, supper's
supper we start so often with chicken that some people that stay with us say, do you eat anything besides chicken? And we really do try
we
to.
had burgers tonight.
Yes.
Homemade,
They weren't
grass-fed.
chicken burgers. They were beef burgers.
We do
And I
pork.
did not put oatmeal in them. I didn't put.
Eggs.
I forgot the eggs.
But they were good.
I didn't put bread. I always put crackers or bread or stuff on. And I didn't do any of that.
Okay, so one of the things I love to cook that makes us feel like we're eating normal food. I had a daughter-in-law recently say, we're trying to eat the right way. We just need some comfort food. What do you recommend? And so I was like, do you have cabbage? Do you have whatever? So they cooked and riced cauliflower, so they had like a rice base. You slice your chicken breast really thin, you stir fry it, you know, and you put in cabbage or some of the broccoli slaw and you know, season it with just seasonings, not
It
soy.
was so good.
She had some too. But
So
I mean,
good.
it is what I would consider a comfort food because it's kind of familiar and very flavorful. So you're taking your chicken with your just cooked vegetables, throwing it on there. You know, we had some sliced beets on the side. I don't know. I mean, I always try and make it colorful and quick. And
I will tell you that she's putting together a cookbook it'll be a while, but she is, and we'll have it available on our channel when it's done.
It's all done. And mine is called the A1C Project. That's my book I'm doing.
Good.
Oh, cool. Now you've been working on it a while.
Well, we just started because
Okay.
I got challenged that if I would please write these down, they'll help me do a book with them. So,
Yeah. One of your
Ah.
sons said he was ready to.
and
Cool.
he's actually helped me start. So.
Awesome.
But he's my project.
Last question has to do with, well, is it just been diet that's made you lose all this weight, or have you exercised?
It's been mostly diet that did the whole thing.
But you had-
Exercise, I had to do exercise, but it was not exorbitant amounts of exercise.
Okay.
I had to do that to limber up and keep my
Your
my
hip.
muscles limber for my hip operation.
Okay.
And it was just simple exercises.
All
But
right.
what about the walking? Didn't we find a good combination?
Walking was really, really good for her.
So you're sitting next to a fitness trainer here.
Say, watch out.
And we were just actually looking up some really good exercises for diabetics. Walking, swimming, dancing,
So we've done walking
Yoga.
and swimming.
Tai Chi. Yoga and Tai Chi are really good for diabetics because
Chi
they
like
are a
hi-ya.
stress reliever. No, that's the
Oh,
one
okay.
that's the thing,
Slow motion
because they're a
hi-ya.
stress reliever. And
It also stretches you,
Yeah.
and it gets you motions. I mean, if you go through a typical Tai Chi routine, you're going to move pretty much every
Every
joint
part of your body.
and every muscle pair. And that's the important thing. In the way that you're doing it with the slow motion, it's actually, there's a bit of isometric that's going on as well.
I was
So
just
it's,
going to say,
well-
you could do the isometric same
Yes.
yeah,
movements.
Yes.
it's
Tighten up
hard.
the muscles
yes,
as you move.
and
It's
that's
hard
what they
for
have
me
you
to
doing.
learn it.
So yeah.
I
Well-
think it's really hard to learn, but
Well, it's also a mental thing
Yeah.
because they have less movements and then larger numbers of movements, but it's learning that and keeping track of it. I mean, it's a very complex
So-
dance essentially.
So can I just say that when we were first really monitoring his blood sugars and trying to get them from 300s down to 100s, that we would, when we were testing so frequently, if we tested in the evening and they weren't where they needed to be and I didn't want him to stay high all night, I'd say, all right, let's go. And we would walk and walk the neighborhood. We would go for a walk, and it would help, and especially it would help by the next
And they
morning.
got longer and longer each time we went.
But so we realized by reading and by doing that when you exercise or walk or any form of exercise, I should say, that it opens your cells and makes them help you do the work to
Well,
let
and
the
especially-
insulin in and get things going.
absolutely, it's imperative. And so I'm going to issue a challenge in front of America
Ooh.
because it will help you bring down those sugars from where they need, to where they need to be.
Yeah, because we've had some really good ones, but we're probably not the best right now.
Just start with walking. In fact, it says you should build up to 150 minutes a week of walking.
How far
That's
can you walk in
that's
150?
5 30-minute sessions.
Okay, well that's doable.
So
Yeah, so we used to be good,
Start
and
with
then
walking.
life, school, and work changed, and so it's something we need to improve on.
So
So
what
build
you
that
should
muscle.
do is pick out a destination that's quite a few miles away and walk enough miles to get there. See how long it takes you.
And make sure it's not an ice cream shop.
Well, I'm talking further than that, like maybe visiting your
Oh, could I
daughter.
walk beyond?
Oh, visiting my daughter?
Yeah,
She lives in Missouri.
walk to Missouri.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking big goals. here.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of local daughters here.
And we're not going to the ice cream store. Let's go somewhere.
Yeah, say if we walked, it used to be to 7-Eleven to get a treat. Now, Okay.
all right, we're going to close this down. Thank you so
We
much.
realized there were other questions, but these were the basic ones. We won't ignore them. We'll get the other
I
questions
think we
answered.
got them. All.
There were a couple,
Are
If
there?
there's
Yeah.
more, then let us
and there'll
know.
be more coming in, I'm sure.
Absolutely. So, any closing statements?
I would just say pick your favorite foods and take out the naughty stuff and see what good stuff you can put in, and you'll be surprised how well you can change and still stay pretty familiar.
And do it with your spouse. because
board.
that makes all the difference. We have had several people say, well, what do I do? My spouse won't do it with me.
Not everybody has their spouse with them still, too. So
I know.
you have a
just- I
friend,
think
get
what
a
you were
friend to
saying was if-
participate.
Yeah, have an accountability partner.
And that's
Maybe someone at work.
when it comes to eating alone is tough. So invite somebody over, or if you know somebody who is struggling with eating correctly, invite them over. Make eating a social experience. People tend to eat better when they're in a social environment.
Thank you.